My name is Joshua, and I'm the Tribune. This topic is so essential that I would argue it might be the most important topic for building. People who are generals, who want to work with God, who are actually planning with Him on a beautiful mission and a wonderful commission that He's given you or is about to give you. Now, the topic today is it God's move or your move? This principle was extremely difficult to get revelation on for me. The reason why is because I'm used to working with humans. Before I started working with God, I had never experienced somebody who has all power. I mean, all power, loves me to a point that is unbelievable. I mean, beyond parents or anything that you can think of like that, way beyond that. They can't even scratch the surface. Who is all knowing and is preparing for things that I don't even know exist. These are the things that if I would have understood these things, then I would have had an easier time knowing is it God's move or my move. Because without knowing these things, it's very difficult to know that. Now, He doesn't allow you to know this right away and really feel it in your heart because He demands obedience and He loves faith and He actually demands it. So, what I'm going to tell you today is that you need to first grow in faith and obedience, and you will see that my principles that I've learned are true. But without that, you cannot see this. But it is still very important for me to speak it to you so that when the time comes that you are very frustrated and you feel like you cannot take it, you remember this principle and know that this is where you're headed. And when I outline this, you will see that this will happen for you and you'll know you're on track. That's what this video is for. So, is it God's move or my move? Or your move? That's the question. Now, God is so wise that do you really think He would drop the ball on His mission? That is insane. For me to even say that, even ask that question is unbelievable. He would never. He's too wise for that. So the first thing to understand about God is He loves you so much. His love for you is incredible. So that means that He wants the best for you. The very first thing you need to know. Having the best for you makes His mission complete. You have to understand that those things cannot be separated. The second thing is that He knows exactly how to get His mission done. He doesn't need your help at all. That would be really arrogant that we think that we can help Him with things that we don't even know exist. Because that's what He's preparing you for. Something that you can't see. Now, when you put these two things together, you start realizing that it's impossible for you to not know if it's God's move or your move when you're working with God and you have a heart to get to know Him as a friend and be obedient. It's impossible. You actually cannot miss the step. Now, this video is an introduction to this because there are different things that can cloud your hearing and make your vision fuzzy with God. So when I say obedience, I'm not just talking about just doing everything that pertains to preparing for the mission. I'm also talking about cleaning yourself up. I'm also talking about being good to people. I'm also talking about having a good mindset, having the mindset where you are giving Him the tithes of your mind. These are all things that if you don't have these things, it'll cloud you. And then you'll be going to God saying, how is it my move or your move? And you're not telling me. And he's like, well, but you can't hear me because you're clouded, because you're not dealing in obedience with this thing that I'm talking to you about, that I've been talking about for 5 years. So the first step is to be obedient in this situation to anything he says. That's the first step. If you don't do this, then you will never hear any of these things. Obedience is key. As you follow steps through obedience, you start to quickly realize that he has an order. He has a strategy. He knows exactly when to do what. He knows when you need to stop doing something. He knows when he needs to shut a door. He knows when he needs to open a door. He knows when you need to sit and listen. He knows when you need to speak. He knows when you need to work on something. He knows when you need to marinate. He knows when you need to watch a video that gives you a principle and watch it 10 times and maybe watch it for a week. Now, I'm not trying to get you guys to watch this video over and over again because that makes no difference to me at all. The people who aren't touched by this shouldn't watch this video because it is a waste of their time. They won't even understand it. And treasure isn't valuable to them. God's relationship is valuable. So they shouldn't just marinate on this video. I don't expect that. But for the people who really do want to see God in this light and to prepare with him and build wonderful things, these are the people I'm talking to. In fact, I'll probably watch my own video and marinate on it because I know God's giving you words. So why not jump in on that and get words from myself too and build myself up even more? So, God wants his mission done. He loves you. He wants his mission done. And it is in his best interest to make sure you know what you need to do when you need to do it. And it's also in his best interest for you to not know what's going on. And it's also in your best interest to not know what's going on all the time. Because if you knew what was going on every single second, you might have a nervous breakdown. You might have anxiety. You might be so excited that you can't focus. That's a huge one. Ooh, that's a big one. Being so excited when God tells you something that you can't even think. This is a good example of what I'm talking about when I say that God has commissions that you haven't seen before, because he can give you something. You're so excited and you're so baffled that he chose you to give you something that you will actually not be able to function for a bit. And he schedules that into his plan. That's the beauty of it. See, you would think, humans don't do stuff like that. Humans, if they tell you something you're excited and you just have to sit down for a week, they then take that commission back and reassign it just because you just couldn't handle it. But God's not like that. He actually looks at you and says, oh my gosh, I'm going to give her something, and I've already planned in that she's going to need a few hours or a few days or maybe a week or maybe 2 months to marinate on this commission because it's so wonderful. I understand, he can't take it. And then he'll get over it, and then we'll get building. We'll get going. He'll get over the shock. So this is a good example of how when he tells you something or when he doesn't, you just need to trust him. You need to trust what he's doing. You need to trust when he has his mouth totally quiet. You need to trust when he has you sitting and you're like, I don't even know what's going on. What do I do? That's when you need to trust him. Through that brings relationship, and you see that he's faithful. So the answer to the question is it God's move or your move? Is if you're in relationship with God, he will tell you. And if he doesn't tell you, since you're in relationship with him, you will have faith and you will trust him and you won't be worried. Now, when he has not said anything to you and you're like, what should I do? First, you need to make sure you look back and see, have I finished what he told me to do before? that's really crucial. Because you can come to a point where you skipped a step and he stops talking and you're like, what happened? This is when you need a relationship where you can hear him. Because he will tell you, you missed a step, go back and do it. And then I have something to say. He's patient. And he schedules these things in. So you need a relationship with him. You need to become his friend. And that happens through obedience. Then from there, you're not concerned because you know his character. You know he's not going to just have me hanging out. He's not going to just let me sit and not know what I'm doing and just waste out and burn out. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is he knows exactly when and what. And he will definitely tell you. He will move mountains to tell you what you need to do next, even if it's quiet. He's not random at all. And this is my next point. We work with humans and they just decide things on the fly. They just, let me just do this and do that. And really they don't have any necessary, they don't have any, they don't have you in mind necessarily when they're making decisions. Maybe they have something else in mind. Maybe they forgot about you for a second. Maybe they don't know that that's actually a huge detriment to you, what they're saying we should do. Maybe they forgot about the mission. Maybe they're thinking about themselves. There's so many different things that when we work with humans, they're thinking about all these different things and they forget things because they don't know what they're doing. And they can make giant mistakes because we're human. God is not like this. He keeps things into consideration. He has a strategy. He is not random. So this is another thing to remember even when you do come to the point where you've done everything he's asked and everything you know you've heard him tell you to do and you do it and he's silent, he has a strategy. He is not random. He's not sitting there thinking, oh my God, what should I do next? No, that is so stupid to think that he's like that. It makes no sense. And if you think that he's like that, you need to stop building because that means you're really not building right. Because you can't build with God thinking he's random or doesn't know what he's doing next. It means you need to stop everything because you probably aren't even building right. You need to go back and get to learn his character. That's the first thing you need to do because he's not like that. He is all-knowing. He is so far ahead of you that you can't even fathom. So when he's not talking, there's a reason for it. And it's always to your benefit and his. Another thing I found that is so wonderful about God, that you have to know this. This is beautiful what I'm getting ready to tell you. He loves you so much and will take care of you, take care of your physical body. He's not one of these people who will work you to death. He's not like that. We might want to work ourselves to death, but he will not allow it because, again, he knows the future. He knows I don't want to do all this preparation for them and they have a heart attack. And someone might say, oh, well, if he's really, really God, then he could let you work super hard, never take a break, and then stop you from having a heart attack. No, because now it's not just about you working hard. It's about you need to have energy and you need to sustain long-term strategy. And you need to be able to delegate time to certain things he wants. And then when we work too hard and we start burning ourselves out, that means that we are so focused on something, we're not even listening to him. We are just bulldozing the situation, and we're going to just bulldoze right off a cliff. And he's going to be standing up on the cliff looking down thinking, well, I didn't even want that. Now we have to get you back up, bring the bulldozer back. I mean, and this is not, he's not going to just blink it up. You have to now we have to figure out how to get you back up. And we're going to teach you that you don't want to do that again. So let's bring you back up. You're going to go through the process of getting back up on the cliff now. And then I don't want you to go off the cliff because I want you to take a left. I told you to take a left, but you wanted to keep going because you wanted to be a workhorse. You just wanted to work to death because you're proud of that. No. That's not how God is. So the beautiful thing about God is he wants to give you rest too. So there have been times when I've been working like crazy, following instructions, listening to him, and suddenly I would finish something and he would say nothing. He would just stop. And I would sit there and be like, what happened? And the entire break that he gave me, I was trying to find out why I couldn't hear what he was saying. And I was frantic. Oh, let's go on a fast. Let's fall out on the floor. I need to pray. Get on I do all extra. Oh, super spiritual. Maybe I should cut this. To do this. And the whole break, he said nothing. But because he has a strategy and a plan, I came to the end of the break and he just kept talking like nothing. He didn't even mention the panic attack that I had over the break. Nothing. He just started talking like he was just took a breath. And he said, okay, now we're going to do this. And he totally ignored that I just had a spiritual breakdown and wanted to, and fervently trying to hear him and stuff. Totally ignored it. After a few times of that, I started thinking, he's trying to give me a break. That's why he's not saying anything. So now, that became me realizing that he cares about my physical body. He cares about my health, my physical health. And he wants me to take a rest. And he's actually very displeased if I don't rest. He's very displeased. It makes him very sad. And maybe angry, because that will lead to burnout later when he needs to do something. And I'm tired now. And I'm like, well, he's like, why, you're tired? I need to ask you, Joshua, why are you tired? And don't even say it's because of the work I'm giving you, because that's not it. I'm giving you power for that. No. You're tired because you went on a spiritual journey during your break that I didn't ask you to go on, because you're not listening to me. So my silence is telling you, you need to rest, Joshua. That's what he's telling me. Once I realized that, I didn't start tripping out over silent periods of time. In fact, I said, I'm going to watch a movie. I know that I can hear God, so I don't have to worry about if I'm here. I know. Now, during those breaks, this is what will really trip you up. If you think, I'm just going to do things that maybe I wouldn't do when I'm working with them. I'm going to go to the club. Oh, now you are totally, your ear is getting shut. That's what's happening. I'm going to go on this binge. That's what I'm going to do. You name the binge. I'm not naming the binge. No. You name the binge. Now your eyes are just getting nice and blurred. That's what's happening when you do that. You need to stay in the confines of what he's told you is good for you during that break. It will rejuvenate you. You will be told, your energy will come back, because this is another point. You need energy to move to the next place with him. This is preparation too. And you really will need this when you actually move forward into your purpose. You're going to need to know this about him, or you will burn out. And there's more on the line. So when we ask the question, is it God, his move, or your move? The answer is really it's both. You need to listen to him. He will tell you. When you get to be his friend, you can hear what's happening. And when he says something, you be obedient. And when he doesn't, you don't. You just rest. But before you rest, you need to look back and see, did I complete what he asked me to? Everything. It could be anything. It could be a script. It could be a song. It could be a painting. It could be studying. It could be reading a book. It could be dealing with something on the inside of you. It could be taking time. He could order you to take time to assess why you're so hurt about a situation. If you don't do that thing, then this is not rest. He'll just shut his mouth until you start assessing that, and he'll start speaking to you about it. Free you. He wants his missions completed, and he will complete them. He's all-knowing and all-powerful. Which means, why do you have to worry about that? Why do you have to worry about missing a step? You're not going to miss a step if you're in a relationship with him. If you're his friend, you cannot miss a step. You cannot. And if for some reason you're just not getting it, you're not getting, let's say he is telling you something, and you're just not hearing it, not because you're necessarily doing anything wrong, it's a process. You're human. There's two things he will do. He will either move mountains to make sure you hear it, and you cannot not hear it. Because when God wants you to hear something, you're going to hear it. And if you don't think so, you're saying that he's not all-powerful and not all-knowing, which means that if he can't speak to you, oh no, that you need to go back and get to know God. So that's the first thing. He will move mountains to make sure you hear him. The second option for this is he will get it done even though you can't hear him. And by the time you realize what he did through you, you'll realize, wow, I didn't even hear that, and he still got it done. This is our God. This is what separates the generals. This is what separates his children. This is why people don't even realize what they're missing when they're not Christians. This is Jesus Christ. Don't forget this. Hail Jehovah.